You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, Lucha Central Weekly.
Hello, and welcome to Lucha Central Weekly. I am not Miranda Morales. She is not joining us this week, unfortunately, but I am your co-host, Dusty Murphy, and our other co-host is who? Our co-host is who? Brenden Barr, that's who!
Yeah! Oh man, that really doesn't work when it's just you.
But I try. Yeah, it's always lacking a little something when we don't have the panache that Miranda brings to the show.
It's true.
But this week, no Miranda, and we also have a special format, as you are probably aware if you're listening to our show. This last Sunday, April the 16th, was TripleMania Chapter 1, TripleMania 2023 Chapter 1, and Monterrey at the Estadio de Baseball in Monterrey. Big show, TripleMania 31. Lots of cool stuff. Very exciting night. First up, we had this unique cage match that saw Antifaz del Norte, Octagon Jr., Villano 3 Jr., Laredo Kid, Aerostar, Parker Negra, Abismo Negro Jr., and Taurus advance, I guess, win against Argenis and Mystices Jr., who lost and then had to go to a mask versus mask Apuestas match later in the show. Really cool. Everybody kind of thought that it was going to be between Laredo and Antifaz. Laredo took Antifaz out before the match started.
Well, and I was thinking it was going to be Parca Negra, so...
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of circumvented everybody's expectations on this one.
Yeah.
Argenis is the brother of the original Mystico, who was Mystices and is now Mystico again. In between, he was Sin Cara and Caristico. That's his brother, Argenis. And so, kind of an interesting note there. Trilistico was originally supposed to be in this match, but was replaced by Abismo Negro Jr. about 3 weeks ago. Yeah, just very exciting, very unexpected for the final two. Aerostar escaped first, followed by Parca Negra, Villano 3, Octagon Jr., Laredo Kid, Abismo Negro Jr., and Taurus, leaving Argenis and Mystices. They later faced off in an Apuestas match. Later on, we'll get to that. But next up,
wait.
Oh, wait.
So I wanted to, because we really set the tone on this. I would even though all the results were, as you said, we started with the brawl on the outside. So we started hot in this hot stadium. I just wanted to really, before we got too deep into the card, just give a lot of appreciation to this Monterrey stadium, and the crowd was beautiful and the crowd was hot, and Laredo Kid and Antifaz really kicked it off in such a way that they went up and they kind of stayed up through the whole show. Yeah, it was really just fantastic. I wanted to set the tone here and get the excitement going. Yeah.
You hear that mentioned a lot, especially online, that a good crowd can make or break a show, and Monterrey had an amazing crowd. They really turned out and got loud in Monterrey in a very exciting way. And it was an exciting card. There were a few missteps here and there. And
we'll get to that.
Yeah. Next up might be one of those missteps. We talked about it before. Adrian Marcelo had built up a huge angle against Chessman, and then he legitimately left the licensing training meeting in Monterrey. And then there were some allegations of sexual assault that blew up in Mexico, and he's basically persona non grata within AAA right now. He was never mentioned throughout the show. But what we got, first up, they announced that we would have a luchador sorpresa replacing Adrian Marcelo. We had La Hydra in Chessman's corner and Mr. Iguana, friend of the show, in the luchador sorpresas corner. And so it was kind of an open secret. Everybody, there were a lot of rumors, but it was finally, when the show came out, it was Vampiro. And he came out with his face painted like Chessman. That was cool. They played his music like he likes. That was cool. But otherwise, I just felt bad for Vampiro. He did not look well. I mean, we love to tease Vampiro a little bit on the show, but genuinely, he just didn't seem like he was at his best.
He looked like he had a flu or something. And this, on paper, that this is a match that could do really well, because Vampiro had a fantastic hardcore match that won tons of fans back in Lucha Underground with Pentagon. His style has always been more of the brawling Texas sort of style, as we call it on this show, like Chessman. So he would have been a matchup for Chessman style, the same style versus same style. Cookie sheets, I did tweet that as soon as I saw them in this match were flying, but yeah, Vampiro just didn't seem to have the energy he normally does.
And he did tease on Facebook on Monday that he might retire, that he was looking at retirement. And so it could be playing into that, but at the same time, it definitely felt like a misstep from the Vampiro that we usually see.
Right, and again, it was not a misstep on paper to have him there. Just the way that it played out didn't work quite as well as I would have liked to have seen, because both of those guys really deserved a bigger match and a better match than what we got, unfortunately.
Yeah, they did, and I think people were expecting more. I don't know. They say that, Adrian Marcelo didn't pass the tests, and I mean, I think we would have had a match of equal quality. But also, they were expecting Adrian Marcelo until quite recently. Vampiro was literally like, who do you get? That's a huge name. They got Vampiro. So the planning that went into this match probably wasn't what you would normally see at a TripleMania style match either.
It's true.
So that could be part of the hiccup. But next up, we had the Copa TripleMania. Baby Extreme, Flommer, Io del LA Park, Toscano, and Zorro defeated the team of Aries, Dave the Clown, Latigo, Negro Casas, and Nino Hamburguesa. This was a really cool match. Babo was scheduled to second Toscano, but ended up appearing in a different segment later in the show. Nino Hamburguesa replaced Lady Shawnee. That's kind of its own story. She didn't really have any involvement in AAA and had her own thing going on TripleMania night or TripleMania weekend, which is interesting. In the match, they had to go over the top rope or be pinned, but what the match for me was really about was that Nicho El Millonaro, the original Psychosis, showed up and started some shit with Negro Casas, threw a trash can at him, threatened to send him back to CMLL. It was crazy.
This was one Ruben was excited about. Like, he tweeted this one out, or maybe it was on Facebook. But yeah, he put it up on social media as it was happening. So the it's no secret. The Boss Man and Nicho are kind of close. So they've hung out a lot together.
Well, and Nicho is like a perfect surprise. Everybody knows him. Everybody recognizes him. This is really the summer of Rey Mysterio, and Rey Mysterio would not be where he is without Nicho. First time I ever saw Rey Mysterio, he was wrestling against Psychosis.
And the classic matches. And the so classic, not only did we see him in ECW, which is what most people are thinking of, but they redid it again in WCW. They didn't even give them, instructions to do anything different. They're just do it again. Do whatever you want to do. We trust you. And we got a lot of that. And then later we got them, doing all kinds of things. Everybody's seen a lot of the LWO stuff that's being referenced now. Those two are the cornerstones that modern lucha has used to step up.
Absolutely, yeah. Like the saying, if I've seen farther, it's because I stood on the shoulder of giants. Like they might not be physical giants, but Rey and Nicho are the metaphorical giants. If you have an idea of Lucha Libre as flippy guys doing acrobatic moves, that was Rey and Nicho. Like, yeah, that's where that came from. And so cool. They like to honor some of the older wrestlers. We saw that with Toscano and Monterrey. I think it's very likely in Tijuana we could see Nicho honored. You know, he had a lot of matches in TJ.
Well,
that's kind of where. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, and that is more or less what his in character is his hometown and his home crowd, and that was what I was gonna say. It kind of feeds into the story. He came out here, ruined Negro Casas' moment. Now we're gonna be in Tijuana. They're probably gonna do something for him, and we'll either see a match or we'll see a brawl, right? Or maybe both. Maybe we'll see a brawl and they make the match. But yeah, you're absolutely right. They're gonna bring him out there because that is what you do with a legend from Tijuana. You bring him out when you're in Tijuana on one of your biggest shows of the year, and then they're gonna turn it into a moment. Are you paying attention, WWE?
And it's one of those things that could really transcend Lucha Libre because so many people, as we mentioned, Nicho's been everywhere. Negro Casas has been everywhere. And to have that pairing, I think, is going to be really exciting and unique. And it feels special and important and main event level, even though it probably won't be a main event. It's main event talent in a very important match.
Yeah, I would actually guess that we're going to see whatever the start of it is the opener. They're going to open hot, just like they did here in Monterrey, and then maybe we see more of the match later, but we'll see something right at the beginning just to get that crowd hot.
Yeah, I think it'll be quite exciting.
Yeah, well, I'm excited for this. Both of these guys have been talking about retirement, and I am positive that Negro Casas has been on Nicho's list of wrestlers he wants to work with forever. So, like, you're going to get something special out of this.
Oh, I agree. I think this will, Nicho doesn't get around as well as he used to. Negro Casas, he, is older too, but I think it could possibly be a match of the year candidate just based on the emotion and the history and just the importance of these two guys coming together to wrestle. I think will be very exciting.
When we saw it on paper, we never thought that the Villano matches in last year's Ruleta de la Muerte were going to be match of the year candidates, yet there they were. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it was the emotion.
Yep.
And Penta was in those matches. He's also in our next match. Alberto El Patron and Pentagon Jr. in AAA, not Penta. They defeated Psycho Clown and Sam Adonis in the Guerrera de Rivalidades quarterfinal. Sam Adonis spent most of the match fighting Psycho Clown.
I was going to say, let's be honest. They just held on waiting for the inevitable explosion of the other team. Like, they didn't win necessarily. They just had to sit back and wait for Sam Adonis to. In this case, I believe it was a broom. He just grabbed something and broke it right over Psycho Clown's back.
Yeah, Sam was ruthless. It was awesome. And if that's the TripleMania main event, like TripleMania Chapter 3, Mexico City main event, I am so ready for that. Sam versus Psycho. Like
hair versus mask, yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
And he should be calling himself Psycho Sam Adonis. Like
Oh, that might be something I say to him on social media. We'll see.
It's good, right? It's really good.
It's really good, yeah.
I think that's probably the biggest interest. We'll touch on that with the other Guerrera de Rivalidades match. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there, but to me, Alberto versus Pentagon would have been the least interesting main event.
It's true, and everybody knew that this was. I mean, I called it before I even knew who his opponents were. Like, this Sam Adonis is just going to beat the hell out of Psycho Clown and not care about the match, and that's what happened. And I think they did it on the right match. They did the right pairing, because to your point, that would not have been an interesting feud to take forward.
No, and getting them out of the way first, right away, it just makes the most sense storyline-wise. Very cool stuff. Looking forward to that. And then next up, we had our Apuestas match. Mystices Jr. defeated Argenis in a mask versus mask Apuestas match. There was a lot of outside involvements. Lady Maravilla was there, Sexy Star 2, Dolce Canella, La Hydra, they all got involved. Mystices may just be, or Mystices Jr., maybe he's Mystices now, they called him Mystices a lot. He won with the same move, the 450 splash, that he had lost the earlier match in, the cage match. Very cool. But what happened afterwards was almost more interesting than the match. It was a good match. It just wasn't quite there as a big match for me. And it was a rivalry that had happened a little bit in the past, but it wasn't as hot as it could have been. Just, I wasn't there, but the unmasking at the end was really interesting. He turned on Mystices Jr., started beating on him, literally ripped his mask off and threw it down, then took his own mask, grabbed the microphone, and announced his name, ran out of the ring, stopped at the announcer's desk to take a headset and do it again, and mentioned that he was only doing it because he was a professional.
Yet here you are throwing a temper tantrum.
And then he ran backstage. He did some interviews afterwards, said he was unhappy with AAA about a lot of things. Apparently he wasn't getting enough booking, and when he complained about booking, they offered to send him to Cancun to make him one of the stars of the Lucha Titlan project, but that meant that he would have to move to Cancun and give up touring and indie dates and all this other stuff, things he just wasn't willing to do.
A lot of money.
Basically all his money.
Yeah, he would get the elevated on the card, but lose a ton of money. So, I kind of agree with that decision at his point in his career.
Do too.
It's not worth it.
Well, he was a surprisingly good-looking man under the mask.
So that is the unwritten rule.
Yeah.
With the exception of Ultimo Guerrero. Apologies.
That's exactly who I was thinking.
Apologies, Ultimo Guerrero. I know there are people who probably love you, but you are not a classically handsome man.
Well, even the people that love him would agree he's ugly. He looks a little bit, like Captain Caveman or something. I don't have words exactly what I'm looking for, but he looks like he'd just rip your ass in half with his bare hands, and that's what matters.
That part is the important part. But so the unwritten rule tends to be that the good-looking guys will get unmasked. So if you can kind of guess who they are. I always loved that. That was one of the things that Ruben said to me when he met a trio's team. I'm not going to say which one. He's like, 2 of those 3 guys would be fine in a Apuestas match.
That's the nicest way to say that guy's ugly that I've ever heard. It just sounds like Ruben too. That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, just this was a fun Apuestas match. Again, the ending was interesting, but that's sometimes what you get in Lucha Libre. Things do get interesting. Next up, we had the Guerrera de Rivaldaldis, the other quarterfinal. Blue Demon Jr. and DMT Azul defeated the team of LA Park and Roosh. Roosh was supposed to team with Pagano, then Pagano was injured about 6 weeks ago, I guess, maybe 8 weeks ago now in storyline, and he was replaced by LA Park. This one didn't devolve as quickly as the first one, but it's still.
And there was a lot of more. So the other one was interesting for entirely different reasons. You were just kind of holding your breath, waiting for that inevitable betrayal, which did come soon. But in this one, you didn't know who was going to betray who. You didn't know if it was going to happen right away or not. Like, everything was just, and then you had the, which may come up, you may be bringing up, but you had tons of outside interference potential in this too, because everybody in this match has friends.
Absolutely. And even though they didn't turn on each other, this match got bloody quick.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously with the contenders involved, but yeah, it was nuts. We got to see Bestia come out. Lots of cool stuff went on. I thought it was interesting. DMT Azul came out dressed in gold instead of blue. I
Yeah.
thought we might see him dressed very much like Blue Demon Jr. to try to further that feud, but that was an interesting choice, and it really made him stand out. He looked so much, I don't want to say newer, but compared to Blue Demon Jr., whose mask has been around forever. Of course, it was Blue Demon's mask before that, and he dresses like his father, and it's just different. But the juxtaposition of the two together, the old versus new, was really interesting, and it did make DMT seem like the shiny new object compared to Blue Demon Jr., which I really liked.
Just to go even one step further on old, according to the English announce team, the Blue Demon mask turned 100 a week after the TripleMania event.
Wow. Yeah, so, yeah, it definitely is an older style mask. But, yeah, a great match. LA Park looked amazing.
We didn't see LA Park's mask for most of this match.
Yeah.
They tore the top half of it off real early, and he's just wrestling with just basically it looked like a bandana over his nose.
Yeah, that was essentially it. But he, was really cool in the mask. Literally, like Brenden says, I mean, it was just a strip. I mean, maybe 80 to 90% gone. Rouge blood was just pouring out of him. It looked like it started to mix with the sweat. Everything he did, blood just,
everywhere.
It was crazy.
His white tights were turning pink.
Yeah. Bestia was there. I always get a kick out of seeing Bestia. Very cool to see him show up in his son's match and kind of help try to turn things around.
He looked impressive again, too.
He did. He looked better than he had in a while. He moved well. I mean, he really felt important again in a very exciting way. Very excited for Bestia. And then next up, we had our main event, the four-way match. El Del Vikingo defending the AAA Mega Campeon Championship against Rich Swann, Shane Strickland, and Commander. And I tell you, everybody was expecting bigger names. See, Kenny Omega was the name that was banded around a lot that you kind of heard.
Not for the first one.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I feel like it's building to that.
Yeah.
But Rich Swann, very good. Shane Strickland, though, out of the three, I mean, Commander, amazing as always, but I thought Shane Strickland really stood out. Swerve, just everything he does is so good. He is one of the future world heavyweight champions. I don't know that he'll be with AEW. I don't know which company he'll be with, but it is obvious that they are going to do big, big things with him. He is just so impressive. It was clear he wasn't as familiar with the lucha style as, some of the other guys, of course.
It's been 3 years since he's been to Mexico. And even then, he didn't do, a lot of stops. He did TripleMania, and he did a couple of house shows, so.
Yeah.
And then it was Lucha Underground before that, but. Or sort of Lucha Underground. He was.
Yeah.
Lucha Underground adjacent.
But yeah, it was an incredible match. It was clear, too, that Vikingo was going to win. That was just kind of the giveaway from the four. You couldn't see any of those four, with the exception of perhaps Commander. But aside from Vikingo, he was just the obvious champion of the four. But it was very exciting, great stuff going on. again, 4-way match, not always the most exciting choice. Great choice. I thought the last two matches were easily the highlights of the card. Better than I expected. The rest of the card, it was up and down for me. But everything that I liked, I loved. I didn't just like anything. Anything that I saw that I liked, I loved. The entire world wants to see Sam Adonis and Psycho Clown fight now. That's really the...
Oh, yeah. They finally got on board with me. You're welcome.
Yeah. Brendan's been calling for this for like 2 years.
Very much so, yeah.
Yeah, it was a very exciting card, very exciting thing.
So the interesting undertone that I found in this one was that you basically had Vikingo and Commander, who are kind of mirrors of each other. Like, Commander very easily could have been in Vikingo's spot with
Absolutely.
Their styles are similar, their movesets over the last year have gotten increasingly similar, and I think that's on purpose so that these championship matchups are really kind of tight and interesting. But then you had Swerve and Rich Swann, and I noticed that Rich Swann was doing some of Swerve's moves, so they were intentionally playing this up, where it's like two different styles in this 4-man match. Just added a nice little layer to it. They weren't working together. It wasn't like they were collaborating. Swerve is nicknamed Swerve for a reason. He doesn't always get along with anybody. So, but yeah, I thought that was an interesting element of it, and that added a lot of interesting things to it, because again, it was kind of predictable. There was one out they could have done, which is they could have had Commander win to set up the next TripleMania, but it seemed unlikely because they still want to make Vikingo kind of larger than life.
Well, and if you were going to build your company around a guy, Vikingo's the guy to do it, but Commander wouldn't be a bad second choice at all. If Commander was not signed with Chaos, he's like in AAA. Chaos is AAA adjacent. They're friendly, but they are separate entities. And so I think, and I think if he wasn't signed to Chaos, he could easily be in that Vikingo position right now. So really exciting what we might see with Commander. Every time he gets the chance to be impressive, he does. He literally walked the length of one of the ropes during the match.
It's becoming his mainstay now.
Yeah.
I was showing a person a highlight reel of Commander to hype them for this event, and I saw him do it in that highlight reel. I saw him do it like 4 or 5 times. So yeah, he's that people are catching on that's his thing and they want to see it.
And his balance and poise up on the rope is phenomenal. And then he can do a 450 splash or something insane once he jumps off. It's like nothing you've ever seen. So impressive. I really think we see him figure more and more highly into the next TripleMania and maybe the next 2 TripleManias.
Well, yeah, like you say, they got to work that out with Chaos, because they're not going to... They would love to have the Mega Championship on their guy, but they're not going to let AAA just use him without some sort of reciprocity. So,
well, exactly, and they're not going to want their guy to lose every match. So we could see him in a higher profile match, perhaps not against Vikingo, but a higher profile match on the card that would get a big win. Mm-hmm. That would be quite exciting for him too.
Yeah.
So just a lot of cool stuff going on. All in all, I thought this was a very exciting TripleMania. It seemed like, depending on who you talked to, there were some people that felt that it, didn't quite match up to their expectations, but I really enjoyed it. I went into it knowing I would have a good time, and I wasn't disappointed. Very cool stuff. Great match. As we mentioned, the Lady Shawnee thing, she had her own, I'm checking my notes, sorry. She had her own show on Saturday, and so she did not appear at TripleMania. There was no word on why she was replaced at in the multi-man match. There's some, I guess she's been dealing with some knee injuries and hadn't been herself, but she was trying to wrestle through it anyway. We, interestingly enough, again, did not see Taya on this card. Taya is our Reigns champion, and it seemed like at one time she was most keen to wrestle Shawnee for the Reigns championship. So we'll see where that goes as well.
I'm going to put this out there because this could be a factor, and it could just be that it's hard to get Taya for shows right now because remember, she is Canadian, not American.
Absolutely.
So her visa issues are going to be considerably different and more difficult depending on, where else she's signed. She's working in the United States because she's on a Canadian work visa. So she may not be able to do as many shows in Mexico because the United States might be like, no, you're on our visa. So yeah.
And she may have, now that she and John are married, there may be residency issues. My knowledge on this largely comes from 90 Day Fiance, but I know during the process between when you have a marriage visa and then you're going for the green card, you can't travel outside the country. That's one of the barriers a lot of these people on 90 Day Fiance have. So they can't go back to their home country, see people, funerals or whatever. It's very difficult to get out. So that could be part of the issue with Taya as well.
Yeah, and that may be why we just didn't mention her, because they may well have wanted to do something and just couldn't. So rather than, building hope up, they're just going to save it for a future TripleMania. But we shall have to see.
Yeah.
So we need to circle back around because we have the Apuestas tournament here. I'm not 100% sure we actually went over what the actual finish was on the second one. We were just talking about how cool it was, but also we need to talk about what that means for our future matchups. So who are we going to see wrestle each other? And I know you don't have the notes there. We were talking about this. Sorry to put you on the spot, but
yeah, LA Park and Roosh will wrestle against Psycho Clown and Sam Adonis. And then the losers of that match in Tijuana will go on to face each other in a singles Apuestas match, either mask versus mask or mask versus hair, once we get to Mexico City for night 3 of TripleMania.
So you've got two massive potential main events for night 3 out of this. You either have Roosh versus LA Park, which is, that's going to fill anywhere in Mexico. You say
absolutely,
yeah,
years-long rivalry.
Yeah, they just have been teasing the fans every chance they get. And then, of course, you have Sam Adonis and Psycho Clown, and Psycho Clown is AAA's guy, and Sam Adonis is still one of the biggest heels in all of Mexico. And almost inarguably, he's the top heel in AAA, or Rudo, if you prefer.
Yeah.
So you could have... It'll be interesting. They could actually do this with an ending where we get both of those matches.
That's kind of what I wondered, is if the stakes were high enough that how do you choose between that? A lot of interesting things there. Maybe a double elimination somehow leads into both matches. Something, to carry it on. I would be very excited to see LA Park versus Roosh in an Apuestas match. Maybe more excited than Psycho Clown and Sam Adonis in historical terms, but in personal terms, it would be hard not to pick Psycho Clown, Sam Adonis. Those guys are both pretty,
right?
Pretty awesome to watch.
That's the one that I personally would want to see, but I think from my if I put my Booker hat on, it's LA Park and Roosh is the money match there.
Yeah.
But that's kind of why I say we might see both. Now, can you imagine LA Park and Roosh somehow manage to win?
Yeah.
But Sam Adonis and Psycho Clown just keep fighting throughout the rest of the TripleMania night, right? So they're just like, okay, you guys, we're going to just do this anyway. We're going to settle this. Sam, stop hitting him. You can have your Puestas match. That's kind of what, that's the other way that it goes. Like, he just continues to beat up Psycho Clown until he gets what he wants.
Yeah, I would be excited for that.
Right?
And we do need to mention the finish of the match. Yeah, we did not mention that. And it was interesting. Um, like I said, very bloody match, but it ended when LA Park attacked Roosh, and then he pulled Blue Demon on top of Roosh after he had knocked him out, so that the ref could make the 3 count, and they would lose and get to go forward towards the Repuestas match.
To go just a tiny bit further, because the absurdity of this match, Bestia came out and was beating up the other team like you would normally expect, right? The LFI member comes out and is trying to help Roosh win. But was it Junior or Hijo that came out?
I believe it was Hijo de LA Park.
Yeah, okay. So one of LA Park's sons comes out and he starts beating up Bestia. So this same team, but that eliminates all of that. And that's what leads to LA Park knocking out Roosh after Roosh had already knocked out Blue Demon, and then putting Roosh on top. Or putting Blue Demon on top. So yeah, it's crazy. It just really shows that they want to fight each other so bad that everybody's getting involved in this. And yeah, again, that goes with. I would have to say that's going to be the one. That's the money match that we will see. So, but because it's so unpredictable. They will take us on a ride with this one. It'll be all kinds. We could see Sam Adonis's friends come out in this one, because he doesn't beat up clowns by himself.
He's still got La Empresa by his side. You can't discount them.
Yeah. Man, I'm super excited for this one.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. La Empresa could get involved in the DMT Azul Blue Demon feud. There's lots of things where we could see teams show up to interfere going forward, which would be exciting too.
Right? And just so that everyone is aware, this doesn't all have to happen at TripleMania. Like they could build this up over TV in the months to come. So that we have we have a whole different storyline going on by the time we get to the next TripleMania. Like, yeah, to your point, La Empresa with DMT could go out after anybody involved in that, and completely change the course and the pattern of what we are expecting at this point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that could go on. Just very exciting. We've talked about this before, but the momentum behind AAA and what they're building to feels more exciting than ever, and the promise of what it's leading up to just feels very exciting right now as a Lucha Libre fan.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, we're getting tons of... this is why we wanted to focus on this, because AAA is doing so much right again. When we've talked about this before, we want to reward the companies that are giving us the kind of wrestling we like. So I mean, that does not mean that other companies aren't, but we wanted to focus on this because it's a big deal. It's their. I mean, they're cheating a little bit by having it 3 nights of the year, but it's their Super Bowl. It's their World Series. So we wanted to give it its due because so much is going on. It's such a rich kind of field for good lucha. And again, we got a variety here. We didn't just get flippy guys doing flippy stuff. We didn't just get cookie sheets in every match. In fact, we only got cookie sheets in one match.
Yeah. But it was Chessman. You'd expect to see him.
You do. It's the one guarantee is that if Chessman's in the ring, we're going to have cookie sheets.
Yeah, but like you mentioned, this TripleMania really had something for everybody. No matter what facet of Lucha Libre you're most interested in, there was something here to tailor to you, which was nice. It was a well-rounded experience for TripleMania.
Yeah. Yeah, and obviously we had flippy guys doing flippy stuff because Vikingo and Commander were on the card. So.
Yeah. And Commander, this coming, as you hear this, it will have already happened, but as we recorded, it hasn't happened yet. Commander versus Jay White on AEW Dynamite. We'll cover that on next week's show, but that's very exciting for him. Big things going on in his world.
I'm really loving that AEW is embracing Commander and putting him in high-profile matches.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're doing the build for him that Vikingo should have gotten when we didn't get the Kenny Omega match the first time. So they're on the right track. Hopefully that puts Commander into a high-profile match with a major AEW talent at some point.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And I also think we'll see him in a high-profile match at one of the next two TripleManias, as I mentioned. TripleMania Chapter 2 will be held at the Chevron Stadium, Tijuana, on July 15th. And then at Mexico City Arena, August 12th, will be Chapter 3, the final night of TripleMania 31. Final night will actually be the 42nd TripleMania show, but it's because of the way they spread them out over multiple nights. It's the 31st TripleMania Chapter 3. Very exciting stuff. Going to be a big summer of Lucha Libre.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have a passport, just get that in order just in case they make a once-in-a-lifetime match that you have to see, because Tijuana's close.
Yeah, it's not that far. But that is our show for this week. We covered TripleMania. Next week, Miranda will be back with us, and we will be back to all of our normal segments, normal promotions, normal coverage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I do want to give my shout out once again to El Arbito, who sent me some results and footage, so I get to watch indie footage.
Excellent.
From some Texas promotions. We didn't use it this week because we were doing the special format, but do not get discouraged. We will be using your stuff every time you send it. We look at it, we make the decision on what we need to do. So we really appreciate getting coverage. Anybody else? I'm going to do the pitch that Miranda normally does for me. Anybody else? If you are a wrestler, a promoter, a super fan, I will actually accept footage from dogs because they will give me the best stuff. I guarantee it. Like, no matter what you do in wrestling, if you have lucha events and you want us to cover it, whether it's a single guy or a full card, send it to me. There's a good chance we will cover it in the Indie Roundup because we love to watch the indie wrestling matches on this show.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Of course, like Brenden mentioned, send those in. We've got Lucha Central on social media. Don't forget to visit us at luchacentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre. They're also on Facebook. I think you just search Lucha Central. They are on Instagram at Lucha Central, and they are on YouTube, I believe, Lucha_Central. And Miranda, she is at the hashtag Miranda, all spelled out, the hashtag spelled out at Instagram. She's also on Facebook. And Brenden, do you want to tell our listeners about your social media?
Absolutely. I am 321 T-shirt guy. That's the numbers 321. T-shirt guy is all spelled out. I am on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. Well, I blew that once. Every time I do it with you, I do this in the wrong order, Dusty. You throw me off somehow. So I am on Twitter. I'm all over the Twitters. I'm also on Instagram, which is where I've been talking with people who've been sending me footage lately. So, pardon me there. Reach out to me. Give me all your stuff. I'd love to see it.
Great. And I, Dusty Murphy, I am on Instagram at Dusty Murphy, and I am on Facebook at facebook.com/Dusty Murphy. Be sure and tune in next week. Well, like I said, we'll have all of our regular segments. We'll have Miranda Morales back. Everything will have its usual panache. But thank you for joining us this week for our special TripleMania show, and we hope to see you next week.